Not counting gang violence. Great.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So, still too soon? This isn't even funny. This is just, I didn't even have a punchline for this. Anyway, Charlie who? Who got shot? What are you talking? Buddy, that was ages ago. That was unk shit. Where have you been, absolute Mr. Freeze? Since that happened, the English language has already developed a completely new vernacular and then rewrote it. Didn't you hear? Hassan blew up his dog in a microwave without any milk. Yeah, I know, I'm late. But I'm bored and I need something to do on Saturdays other than play Civ 6 for 20 hours. So, here we are. I'm sure as everybody knows, the great right-wing pundit Charlie Kirk got turned into a Capri Sun. And it's been a fun month or so since then. A ton of right-wing accounts screaming civil war, leftist Aurora Boris. Let's see, a couple shootings here and there, and yeah, as usual, the world keeps turning, and certainly the news cycle does too. And with everything that's happened within the last month, or the last couple of months, or hell, the last couple of years, it's abundantly clear that the country has become extremely polarized and is starting to reach a boiling point. With the constant politicization or retardation of absolutely everything, where nothing is a non-political topic anymore, bipartisanship is completely dead, and it seems like not even basic reality can be agreed upon, blah, 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 both sides, you get the idea. So with the rising political violence, civil unrest, politically motivated shootings, fire bombings, killing of state legislators, Chud double vehicular homicide. Billions must drive. And it seems like crazy things are happening every single day. And to a left-leaning person, whenever crazy stuff happens on the left, it's denounce, and no one cares. But when crazy things happen on the right, it's nothing. Silence. It gets swept under the rug, all kinds of mental gymnastics. That guy wasn't a real Nazi, that guy was a Fed, that guy was Nancy Pelosi's husband's gay lover, and it all just kind of goes away. January 6th, we're still talking about that? That was ages ago, get over it. But BLM? Now, hold on. They burned Portland to the ground. Like, it's gone. It's not there anymore. So after Charlie Kirk got turned into a Capri Sun, the moment that the bullet hit his neck, every single influencer ran to their cameras to say, now I didn't agree with him on everything, and then spent 20 minutes explaining why murder is wrong. Except for one man. The GOAT. The LeBron James of debate. Mossad Julumni Employee of the Month. 7 years straight, ever since Ben Shapiro fell off. The one, the only, Stephen Destiny Bonnell II. And he essentially went on stream saying that things have gone too far, and that the rhetoric on the right has gone so extreme, and them and their leaders, and especially the President of the United States, Donald Trump, needs to turn down the rhetoric. Needs to stop demonizing his opposition, needs to stop mentioning how Joe Biden and Democrats ruined this country.
What should the messaging from the left be? The messaging should be, everybody needs to chill the fuck out in this country. Like, everybody, but not until the right says it. The right should say it first. It's just so easy and so basic. This isn't even like a hard take. This is just like the easiest fucking take in the world. I'm sorry, didn't this fucking retard just tweet like 1 day ago about sending the National Guard to Chicago and like brag about it? Like, I'm sorry, but like this is the world you want, and that's the world we're living in. So if the right can recognize this and they can start to bring it down on their side, then sure. I think you can have a conversation, but it can't be one-sided. It can't be unilateral. You can't have one side constantly ratcheting up the temperature and then crying on the other side every time bad shit happens. Hold on, really stupid. How many people have you heard? You can make a supercut. How many people have you heard me debate where they've said over and over again, Trump is just joking. Trump says shit like that. Who cares? It's just Trump. Trump just talks like that. Like, I'm sorry. If the president of the United States' speech has no impact on the overall mood or temperature of the country, why the fuck should any of us care? You lead by example.
That is Donald Trump and the right going after their political opponents and attempting to deploy the National Guard everywhere.
And it's why I keep getting annoyed when I see the like people being like, oh my god, shit is getting crazier. This is getting really bad. No. It's not getting crazy. It's not getting bad. We're already in a really, really, really bad place. We're already in a really scary, horrible place in this country, right? Trump has done so many insane things, and Republicans are clapping along the entire time. You've got masked men abducting people, shooting them out to other countries, to fucking concentration camps in fucking El Salvador, to deploying the National Guard and sending Marines to California. Like, all this shit is happening over and over again. We just had the President of the United States posting videos bragging about killing 11 drug dealers with fucking F-35s or boat guns or whatever. Like, yeah, well, you're not isolated from the impacts of all this stuff happening. I don't know what you want to say. Like, I don't understand. It's like, it's not even like fuck around and find out. It's like this is the obvious consequence of turning the temperature up like this. Away from their state.
And until they chill out, the left won't. And you can't expect political violence and resistance to stop. This then got picked up by Piers Morgan, who gathered the greatest political philosophers and intellectuals of our generation in order to have a 1v4 debate that he pretended was a 2v2. And, it went about how you'd expect.
I mean, do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate.
Yes. I won't condemn anything until the president of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
Why do you
Why is
think
your
Trump say
behavior
that? I feel like
contingent on Donald
I'm
Trump?
insane right now.
Why do you
is
think?
your
No, let me
behavior
ask a
contingent
question.
on Donald Trump?
Let me
Why
ask
is
a
that?
question.
Because he's the president of the United States of America and the leader of the
Yeah,
opposing
Destiny,
political party.
Destiny.
Of young men who
I'm a
listen to
YouTuber
everything you have to
who
say.
has more
So
young
when
men
you,
following
it
him.
doesn't
Who
matter.
has
You have a
more young-
huge
it doesn't
audience,
matter.
and because
This
of
is
the fact that you
world
have a
I'm
huge
living in,
audience,
and
you
your
have
brain
a
has been
responsibility
broken by
to
online
not turn.
rhetoric. Your
Hasn't
brain
it
has
hasn't
been
been broken?
destroyed
I actually care
because
about the
people
country
bully you
and
on
want to
Twitter.
bring people.
No, hang on.
If
Don't
Donald
all
Trump
shout
would've
at
come out
once,
and said-
please. You're mocking his
it's already
widow.
inflamed.
You're
What are you
mocking his
talking
widow.
about? We've had multiple political assassinations over the past year. What do you mean? It's turning up the temperature.
Why did you
to
mock
fight
his
with someone
widow?
online. Why can't Donald Trump simply go on TV and say, we all need to turn it down?
Fine.
Like Biden could, like Obama could,
Fine.
like the Clintons could, like Kamala could. Why
Fine.
not?
Why can't you condemn the murder
See,
of Charlie
it's
Kirk?
unbelievable.
How about take it easy on the Adderall? Take it easy on the Adderall, and let me answer the question that Pierce asked me.
You must have been really bullied today, I
My
guess.
behavior,
Let Anna speak, please.
My behavior is not reliant on how anyone else behaves.
You serious?
Yes, we're gonna surveil everybody. Everyone will be on their best behavior. Yes.
Why did Donald Trump call
It's a
everyone fascist?
whataboutism.
That's what's causing
Whataboutism.
political- Yeah,
I'm
that's what
asking
you're
you
doing
a
right
question.
Now, whataboutism. The
I can't be a
conversation is about
whataboutism
what I
if
said.
it's my
The
question,
conversation is,
Destiny.
Why won't Donald Trump continue?
But
There'll be more
Destiny-
deaths.
but Destiny-
Maybe it'll be me at the next one. Who
Destiny-
knows? There'll be
Well,
more
I do
people
agree
who
you
die.
want
it to
And
continue.
you guys are
Destiny-
all going to turn around and be like, I can't believe it.
Destiny-
What's happening here?
Okay, Destiny.
It's the temperature.
You can't do
I
it.
can't turn down the temperature. If Donald Trump can't.
What is your response to this?
I mean, Piers, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, this type of ideology where you've got someone who's willing to mock Erica, who's been standing strong for her family, for her children, who's just she will never be able to grow old with Charlie. She will never be able to be with them again. Every single moment of that future that they had was gone because someone fired a bullet at Charlie Kirk that said, "Hey, fascist, catch."
That's not even the bullet that was fired. How are you lying about this?
Shut
even?
up, Destiny.
Holy
Shut up.
shit! You're so
Shut
shameless,
up.
dude. Oh my god!
Hey,
One
Destiny.
side wants to fight and the other side doesn't, then you're going to fight. One side can't decide not
What
to
are you
fight,
talking?
but the other
That
side
makes no
decided to.
sense. What does that have
What do
to
you
do
mean
with
it
you?
makes no
You
sense?
can-
It's fine.
No,
You're
I'm
asking
not.
me for a public statement
I'm
right
asking,
now.
where
You're
is
gonna
your
go great watching a
humanity? You
colleague
can't
getting
just say
murdered?
the murder
Where is your
was
humanity,
wrong.
Piers?
Please go on Pierce Morgan. We need some good clips. Dog, I don't know what the you're looking at right now that would make you think I would ever want to go on here. This is like watching. I'm like watching the Pain Olympics on stream, and somebody's like, "Have you tried dipping your balls into salicylic acid? Like, do you think that would feel good for you?" We'd get some really good content out of that. You know, I maybe you would.
When you hear Destiny saying, "Who cares?" about the fact that he openly, publicly mocked Erica, how does that make you feel as a friend of the family?
It's very angry, Piers. You know, and here's the thing.
Anna,
How many
finish
more
your point.
lawsuits are you
chicken
going
and
to face
waffles
from
with
women
Nick
that you
Fuentes?
allegedly secretly
Like, what do you
recorded
mean?
during intimate moments, Destiny? I can't believe anyone
are you
takes you
se- are you
seriously.
really?
You're
You wanna
disgusting.
pull out Twitter?
You're
You wanna pull out
embarrassing,
Twitter, remember
and
that?
you
Yeah,
should be
keep going on
shunned
it,
from
yep.
public life with
Keep
your
playing it.
disgusting
My
treatment
God, I can't
of all
believe you
sorts
got
of people,
bullied so
including
hard on
young
Twitter. This is what you
left-wing
become.
girls, women
You're turning
that you
more
victimized
blonde right
allegedly.
now in the window. You're
yeah,
so
that's who
you're
you
like
are.
2 shades away from
You're
being a Fox News host,
embarrassing.
Anna.
You
Keep
embarrass
going.
the left.
You gotta
You're the
go
type
get
of
go get
person
some
who
lip
pushes
filler there.
people
You
away
gotta
from
do-
the
you're
left.
so close,
Make
Anna.
sure your behavior is going to
True.
hinge on Trump.
Tell me
Well,
more about
who
the
are you as
dancing
an
Israelis
individual?
and building
God, have a little bit
and
of
how the
humanity.
Jews all knew about 9/11
You're a
and they all
sociopath.
want us to go to war in
You're
the
a
Middle East. Yeah, of course.
sociopath.
And the way that this tried to get spun was essentially that Destiny wasn't condemning the violence, therefore that means he was condoning it, and trying to make it look like he was condoning political violence and telling people to do political violence, especially because he's already had a history on Piers Morgan and other channels as well for inflammatory rhetoric. And on the surface level, not outright condemning a horrible incident just seems bad. It just instantly seems bad. That should be everybody's first reflex, is to be like, no, this is messed up. We shouldn't be doing this. We don't condone this. Condemn, condemn, condemn. Denounce, denounce, denounce. But that's part of the whole point of this kind of humiliation ritual, you can call it. Anytime an incident like this happens, they try to get everyone they can to go in and say, oh, we're really sorry, it won't happen again, that kind of thing, right? And to almost inadvertently admit that, look, your guys are crazy, look what your side is doing. And in a way, the moment you start apologizing, it's almost like you're taking ownership for it, is how oftentimes it gets portrayed. And we expect that things will get better, but of course it doesn't. The rhetoric keeps enhancing, the temperature still goes up. Nothing gets solved. On stream, Destiny elaborates more on this whole idea and uses the prisoner's dilemma in order to do so. In the prisoner's dilemma, you got two people with two choices. They can either cooperate or they can defect. Both sides cooperate and don't rat on each other, then they get something like 1 year in prison. And if both sides defect and they rat on each other, further incriminating each other, then they will get a much harsher sentence, something like 2 years. However, if one side cooperates and one side defects, then the one who defects will get off scot-free, no years. And the one who cooperates will then get left with 3 years. A far more harsher sentence than if both sides defect. The whole premise of this is to create a system where no matter what the other chooses, it's always beneficial to defect, even though that both sides cooperating would be the most beneficial outcome for both parties involved. If both parties are completely rational actors, it is most likely that they will defect, as the worst possible outcome is to cooperate and then the other side defects. And the best possible outcome is to defect and the other side cooperates. Meaning that if I always defect, I can only get the best possible outcome and never get the worst possible outcome. And if you go in and you take this concept into the real world or modern American politics or any period throughout history in any part of the world, right? The worst case scenario is not civil unrest. It's not political violence. It's not the worst thing in the world to have two factions going at each other, two parties going at each other, going back and forth, right? The worst case scenario would be authoritarians going after their enemies or opponents with little to no resistance and no real checks on their power. And that would lead to, for lack of a better term, genocide. So it needs to be known that there is some resistance, there is some pushback. There are consequences for the inflammatory rhetoric and the demonization and targeting of the opposition. And this kind of cucked, oh, we're so sorry, it won't happen again, please forgive us, gets us nowhere, right? And it doesn't matter what you do or what you say, they will always find a way to paint you as the enemy. They will always find a way to defect, you could say, right? And have a pretense or an excuse to do all the things that they want to do. We are far past the point of, oh, you know, there are just two sides and everybody's got different ways of how they can govern a world and blah, 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 blah. No, we're far past that point. We're far past the, oh, it's just opposing opinions now. We're at the point where there are in-groups and there are out-groups. And the out-groups are ontologically evil. So, for a leftist perspective, it always seems like the right will defect, and be rewarded for doing so, while the left will try to cooperate and be punished. So, of course, they're just going to keep doing it. The resistance, for a very long time, has been feeble, non-existent, and the situation and things just keep getting more dire, more crazy shit every single day, and it's clear to a lot of people that the system or whatever is happening is not working. So, of course, it's important now for there to be some level of resistance, you could say. And it is important now for the left to defect. You could say, going tit for tat. In the sense of the prisoner's dilemma, tit for tat is the strategy of cooperating and then copying whatever their move is. So I will cooperate, and if they defect, then I will defect back. And I will keep defecting as long as they do, until they back down. And when they start cooperating, then hopefully we can get some kind of mutual understanding of to keep cooperating. And in future notice, hopefully they won't try to defect again, because if they do, they know what my response is if I am doing tit for tat. I will go in, and then I will defect. On some level, I think all humans, or even animals as a whole, understand tit for tat, or in a more simplistic, simplified way, revenge. Whenever someone or something feels wrong, there's always this very primal urge to get back at them for retribution. Slash your tires, break your car windows or whatever, or just kill you or something. And of course, most animals have this too. There's the classic myth or stereotype of, crows or tigers or whatever, that will hunt people down for like years, right? And remember faces to like eat them. And to a large extent, this is something that's very ingrained in human culture and society as a whole, right? thousands of years of public executions and the classic people coming from all out of town to see some outlaw be hanged, public displays of murder or executions, as well as some forms of torture, branding, or things like cutting off people's hands for crimes. These public displays of violence, often done under a guise of justice or retribution, serves as a warning for those who may do the same and sets clear boundaries, but as well as there's an inherent sick satisfaction given too. Or after bin Laden was killed, there were celebrations in the US as kind of a form of revenge for 9/11, which, funnily enough, was a form of revenge for constant intervention in the Middle East. On a very base level, tit for tat is ingrained in evolution. It's why you treat people with respect. It's why you say please and thank you. It's why I don't fly all the way down to Japan or Korea and act like a public nuisance and stream the whole thing. It's because if you do that, if you do those kinds of things, if you don't treat people with respect, then people will hold grudges. People will want to give you what you deserve. But of course, all of this is an emotion. All of this is emotional. More often than not, it's an overreaction. And that's why we have the law. That's why we have courts, in order to give a predictable deterrent or punishment and take emotion out of the equation. However, still, in every interaction, there's always some form of threat of retribution, right? Whether that be through the court and through law or through more unofficial means. But of course, without the law, if you aren't capable of either violence or resistance, then you're somebody who is more capable of violence, that is able to do basically whatever they want with you.
You see, Rick, whatever you do, no matter what, you don't mess with the New World Order. New World Order is this, and it's really very simple. So even if you're stupid, which you very may well be, you can understand it. You ready? Give me your shit, or I will kill you.
Welcome to every post-apocalyptic media ever. So if you don't want to get Negan back 1+2, down back 2, into intimidation 50-50 at the corner, then you have to be capable of some form of violence, or at least make it known that any kind of altercation would not be worthwhile for the other party. And Jordan Peterson talked about this before he got his brain scooped by Russians, which is, what is it? Something along the lines of, it's not a virtue to be nonviolent. It's a virtue to be capable of great violence and not use it. Every interaction between a man has some kind of underlying threat of violence, and you could even extend this to women too, right? It's important because that's how we set boundaries. And I hate to be the, oh, well, that was out of context guy, but this was the exact thing that Destiny was talking about in the clip that got shared everywhere that was saying that he was advocating violence, where he said Republicans should be scared.
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature. The issue is right now, they don't feel like there's any fear. Like, I don't know, it's like memes. It just means to everybody, I guess. I don't know, bro. I don't care. I'm playing video games. Okay, I'm done today. I don't give a fuck. I know that I can't go up to a man and say whatever the fuck I want, right? Or if I do, I know there's certain things to say where if I say some shit, we're gonna fight. Right? I know that's gonna be the case, right? Everybody knows this. Every man knows this. Some women learn the hard way. Sorry, just kidding, happening. People know this online when they say shit like, you wouldn't say this in real life, kid. You wouldn't say this in real life, punk, right? Because the idea being that you know that if you say this, some shit's gonna happen. Now, to some level, that's kind of, you could argue that that's kind of toxic, but on another level, there are some guardrails that guide us on socially acceptable behavior, right? Another argument I'm making a lot, I made a little bit, is I give a chilling effect. People always talk about chilling effects like they're bad. They're not always bad. Criminal laws and punishments ideally chill some criminal behavior. Certain social conventions or the threat of violence can chill some antisocial or violent behavior. It's not always a bad thing. When I say that people should be afraid, what I mean is that if I were to go into a crowd of people and take out my gun and point it at somebody, I personally, I would be afraid. I would be afraid I'm gonna get killed because I'm aiming a gun at somebody. That's a good fear to have. I should have that fear. If I'm pointing a gun at somebody, well, I could potentially kill them. I should feel like they could potentially kill me. If somebody loses that fear, if they feel invincible and they're fearless to threaten or enact violence against another party, that's a very bad feeling to have because it leads to more violence for everybody. It's not good. There should always be something in the back of your mind that makes you like, ooh, if I would have wild out right now, if I would go crazy, I would probably get my ass whipped, okay? Or somebody would kill me, right? That's an okay feeling to have. And having an antisocial, violent person or community in an area where they feel like there is no accountability is not good. It's very bad.
Right, and I think he was even specifically talking about that Jordan Peterson quote or clip or whatever I was mentioning, right? Because at the point we're at now, the right is basically completely comfortable of saying everything and anything, right? This is a battle of good and evil. These people are trying to trans your kids and are destroying this country. And, you know, some greasy, bald, slimy fucking chud slams his desk and screams, Civil War, every time Disney turns a character black or whatever. And it's especially worse, not just with the rhetoric, but also with the President of the United States doubling down on this with, as the aforementioned, National Guard going after political enemies, fucking Bitcoin scams. What the fuck? So, of course, at this point, things have gotten crazy. Things have gotten out of hand, and there needs to be some form of resistance, right? So, is Destiny condoning violence? Maybe not explicitly, but in a more roundabout manner? Not exactly. Things like the Piers Morgan conversation and a lot of other things around it tries to paint it as condoning violence. Obviously, that's not the case. He says multiple times that political violence is bad and that this isn't good.
Yeah, you should feel bad. You should feel bad. You shouldn't have. It's not good that people are getting killed. Even for the guy at the Trump rally, it's not good that people get killed. And like for political violence, for anything really, right? Like you don't want that to happen. But
and certainly he does not condone it. Yet doesn't exactly condemn it either. So, if it's not condoning and it's not condemning, what exactly would you call it? I guess the word I would use would be tolerating, right? He is tolerating political violence. It's not a good thing. Political violence isn't a good thing, but it's kind of just where we're at, and we can't expect it to change until the right changes. But is that it? Is our country so cooked, fam, bro, not gonna lie on Kaisa Gyat for real, no glizzy? Is that really it? Are we that cooked, not gonna lie, chat? Is political violence necessary? Of course not. There are forms of resistance without physical violence, right? The best, most well-known activists throughout history preach and promote nonviolence, protests, sit-ins, preferably not setting yourself on fire. That one makes my stomach churn. You don't have to do that one. That one's optional. But not only do we like to glorify individual activists and the steps that like the average person can make, but it's also important to mention the more professional side of things, right? The redistricting campaign pushed by Gavin Newsom is a perfect example of resistance without violence, right? They go low, we go low. Not to mention the deployment of the National Guard. There's been a lot of pushback against that, as well as the alligator Auschwitz that everybody was saying it was so based and whatnot, or was on the other side saying that this is the most horrible thing that's ever been created. That shit, as far as I know, right now has been shut down for the foreseeable future. And even furthermore, you had the No Kings protest about 2 months ago or so, and there should be another one coming up relatively soon. If not, it's already happened. We'll see how that goes by the time this video gets released. But the No Kings protest was like one of the biggest protests in American history. It was certainly up there, and we'll see how the second one goes. That's another form of resistance without violence. And at the end of the day, lefties, close your ears, rage bait warning incoming. We still do live in a democracy, believe it or not. I know that's a hot take in 2025. We still do live in a democracy, and votes still do matter. This whole prisoner's dilemma model thing works as if there are only two sides to this, right? Works as if there are only two parties involved, which technically there are, but it still kind of undermines the whole fact that there's a third party that needs to be taken into consideration. The swing voter, the median voter, the average normie retard. And at the end of the day, as long as votes matter, as long as we still have voting, then optics matter too. You need to look optically good in order to win the average voter. And at the end of the day, there's no greater form of resistance than winning. And look, I'm not a moralist or anything. I couldn't give a shit less about morals. I don't care about morals. Morals and virtue and all that kind of thing are just a pretense to explain to stupid people why you shouldn't do things that are bad for the overall society. I don't say this just to say, killing is bad, guys. Is this really what we've devolved to? We're just killing people over words? No. I say this because I care about losing. Losing is bad, guys, and not instantly denouncing violence. Frame one looks fucking shitty. It looks terrible. Even just tolerating it, even just saying, well, this is what you deserve because you're fucking saying crazy shit and whatnot. Blah, 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 blah. It's not a winning strategy. And that's been shown. That's been proven. You think that all these protests, like, you know, people like Martin Luther King and whatnot, just chose nonviolence because out of some moral, altruistic, I don't know, code, right? No, it's because it looked optically good. You know, and people want to go around using optics like some kind of insult. Oh, your optics cuck. Optics. All this guy cares about is optics. What an idiot. Why don't you actually go out and do something? Do what? Do something that matters. Motherfucker, optics does matter. Optics are the only thing that matters. In a system where 99% of people, all they can do and all they're capable of doing within our political system is voting, what matters most is optics above all else. Save me this LARPy bullshit. Like, you're gonna fucking go out and do something other than let the streets run red with the blood of landlords. Fuck off. See, now I've riled myself up. Now I'm debating the voices in my head. And this is the point where someone like Destiny or some DGG gremlin would crawl out of their hole and say something along the lines of, oh, well, the right has this entire media infrastructure from top to bottom filled with blue checkmark Russian bots and that spread propaganda and misinformation. It doesn't matter how hard you protest or how well you protest. It doesn't matter how non-violent you are. And it doesn't matter what kind of messaging you have. People live in their own echo chambers. And the moment that there's any kind of violence, any kind of civil unrest, and of course there always will be at any kind of large-scale event, right? Then people will lose their minds. People will lose their shit. All it takes is one burning shopping cart, and that's a violent riot. It doesn't matter if the vast majority of the protests are peaceful and wholesome. All it takes is one clip to go viral. One altercation, one thing, and boom, you've got a talking point for the next 5 years. The problem I have with this argument is you're essentially saying that news in the media is so deeply compromised by the right that you only see what they want you to see. that when the average person goes and they scroll TikTok or Twitter or whatever, all they're going to see is right-wing media. That's of course not true. There's plenty of left-wing media. There's plenty of other sources. The way that the social media algorithms work is to optimize to get you watching as much as possible. And if you're watching primarily left-wing things, you'll get promoted left-wing things. If you're watching primarily right-wing things, you'll get promoted right-wing things. And the people who are only getting only right-wing sources and only right-wing takes are only watching right-wing things because most likely they're right-wing. And if that's the case, that all people are seeing is takes from the right-wing perspective, then, buddy, that means that there's a problem with your media infrastructure. There's a problem with you. If you're apparently supposed to be half of the country, or if your perspective in your party is supposed to be half of the country, if not more, and you can't get your perspective across, you can't get your message across, the average person doesn't see that, and they just see right-wing media and right-wing takes and whatnot, then that means that there's a problem with your media infrastructure. Does it not? And I'll grant that the right probably does have a dominance when it comes to media, when it comes to news, and more likely influencers, if anything. But once again, that's on you, and it doesn't help that half of your influencers could be replaced by cardboard cutouts and nobody would notice, and the other half of your influencers make your side look even worse.
Kaya, please just fucking go.
And it sure as hell doesn't help that you have a whole faction on your side that is hell-bent on destroying and co-opting what's supposed to be your base and what's supposed to be the people representing them. So that sure as hell doesn't help either. But at the end of the day, that just means you're not putting up enough resistance when it comes to the media, when it comes to news and influencers and whatnot. That's your problem there. If the internet or news and media are so skewed and so biased to one side, especially if you think your perspective is so right, that the conservatives are fucking retarded, which most likely they are. But even with that, that's not even the case. The average person is not just getting fed right-wing stuff. The average person is getting fed shit from both sides. Once again, what matters more than anything else is winning the median voter, the average person, or like I like to call him, the average retard. Your average person is fucking retarded. The average person, I don't know, watches soccer and plays Marvel Rivals. Actually, scratch it, they don't even play fucking Marvel Rivals. That's the bare minimum, right? These people fucking play Forza and dog shit sports games, right? That's the kinds of people we entrust with our future and our democracy, and are the kinds of people that matter most in this world when it comes to politics. It's the kinds of people who only own a fucking Xbox, and all they have is Forza, fucking 2K, and the newest Call of Duty. It has to be the newest one that they spend $80 on, because they're not good with money either. And those are the people that we rely on the most in our society. Those people are fucking Atlas that hold up the Western world. Most people know absolutely nothing about politics, know absolutely nothing about our civic system, or our government, or why people think or do the things that they do. Most people don't know, and they don't fucking care either. The average person doesn't know anything about anything. Most people get their fucking politics and their news and information from Twitter and TikTok, dude. Fucking TikTok. That's where all this both sides shit comes from. The average person sees a video of some redneck smashing Bud Light cans because it's woke and gay or something, and then sees another video of some woman crashing out, screaming that Walmart is racist, and then they just go, both sides, and then they move on with their fucking useless lives and gamble their life savings on sports betting or whatever while scrolling TikTok, right? So they can look at more, I don't know, fucking Naruto edits, dude. Epic Naruto v Sasuke edits. That's what they fucking exist for, man. And even just playing around and tolerating this kind of shit is just, it's one, pointless, and all it can do is really hurt you, unless your goal is, of course, just to start a conversation and put pressure on the opposition, which primarily is what I think it's for. The thing that really bugs me is to sit here and act like super partisan biased media was invented with the internet is fucking ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and say that the media landscape is pretty cancerous. But at the end of the day, do you really think that the media we have today is worse than what they had during the civil rights era? The generation that has the fucking KKK, dude? Are you kidding me? Actually, you know what? Screw this. I'm a grown-ass man. I have the most powerful machine in all of human history right here to my left. 5-minute detour. 5-minute detour, and let's do some independent research. Whoa. All right, here we go. What do I start with? I'm assuming I just start with something like, I don't know, partisan right-wing media during the 1960s. This communist agitation and racial turmoil. What is behind the civil rights revolution? Attorney General Robert Kennedy on July 25th, 1963, issued a statement in which he said that based on all available information from investigations and other sources, he had found no evidence that any of the top leaders of the major civil rights groups are communist or communist-controlled. In his all-inclusive statement, Attorney General Kennedy thus displayed his ignorance of the background of racial agitation in this nation. Communist Party greets boundless joy the present revolutionary freedom movement of the Negro people and will spare no sacrifice to help bring about its total victory now. There is a wide area of agreement between the Communist Party and the Negro freedom movement on program, aims, and tactics. Negroes march on Washington, D.C. All right. Following several months of feverish planning, which manifested itself in a solid front of cooperation between the most important Negro civil rights groups in the country, more than 150,000 Negroes marched on Washington, D.C. on August 28, 1963. The disciplined, placard-carrying marchers swarming over the Constitution Avenue bore a sinister resemblance to May Day scenes of Moscow's Red Square. Why? Who were the leaders and participants of this tightly organized show of strength with its threatening overtones? The Jews. It was the Jews. I know these things. The strange associates of Martin Luther King. King conducts most of his racial agitation activities in his capacity as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. The national secretary of King's organization is a Negro by the name of Reverend Fred L. Shuttlesworth. An article on June 1963 issue of the Cincinnati Enquirer identified Shuttlesworth as also the new president of the Southern Conference Educational Fund. According to the article, both the Senate Internal Security Subcommittee and the House Committee of Un-American Activities have described the SCEF as an organization to set up to promote communism throughout the South. Holy shit, dude. What can you do? What can you do, my fellow freedom-loving American? Hold on, I gotta move my camera real quick. The communist plan to use the civil rights movement as a vehicle for revolution in the United States must be fully exposed. The American people, both white and Negro, can defeat this plan to use racial agitation as a means to overthrow the constitutional government of the United States. If you wish to help expose the plans of the communists, here is what you can do. Send a copy of this pamphlet to congressmen and 2 senators demanding a... Alright, yeah, just like and subscribe. Okay, yeah, if you want to stop worldwide communist Jewry perpetuated by the Negro civil rights movement, just like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Holy shit, dude, this is a read. This is a read. Oh, what do we have here? Civil rights or anarchy? What's behind the race riots? Here are the facts. Year 1966. This is like not real. This is like, I mean, it's real, but this is like a white mom's fucking Twitter blog, dude. Like, this is not a fucking, this is just a schizophrenic 4chan post, I think. This isn't like a real publication. I don't know how serious. I mean, I guess rights and restrictions, image rights, Museum of Protest. I don't know what the fuck that is. Whatever. I'm gonna read it anyway, because it's probably good memes. Proof of the red direction of riots. During the spring-summer of 1966, Negro riots took place in the following major cities: New York, Chicago, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Baltimore, Detroit, Milwaukee, Miami, Omaha, Cleveland, Dayton, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States of America, right? As well as Jacksonville, Lansing, Michigan, Waukegan? Benton Harbor, Michigan, Grenada, Miss South Bend. What? Okay, yeah, all right. These riots resulted in deaths, countless injuries, and millions of dollars worth of property damage. Once peaceful communities had become seething cauldrons of violence, with sometimes up to 5,000 Negroes on the streets defying law and order. That's a lot of Negroes. 5,000 Negroes on the streets defying law and order, firebombing, and overturning police cars, and hurling Molotov cocktails into buildings. What is behind these Negro riots, which seem to have spontaneously erupted in various parts of the nation? You know the answer. You and I both know the answer. It was the Jews. Me, personally, I know these things. Oh, Jesus Christ. How Reds masterminded the riots. Inflammatory statements by the white and Negro leaders. Holy shit, President Lyndon B. Johnson, dude, he's a communist. I am proud this morning to salute you all as a fellow revolutionaries. Holy shit. Holy shit, the Soviet Union, they won. They won. Lyndon B. Johnson, how do we not know this until now? Lyndon B. Johnson was a Soviet Spetsnaz spy. Dude, it's just, I am proud this morning to salute you as fellow revolutionaries. Holy shit, he's a communist. This is inflammatory rhetoric, guys. World War, the Soviets won, man. Oh, that was a nice read. What is this? I need to see this. The world won't like you, Sam, if you don't give away your shirt. International communism. Keep after him, Castro, and he will give you the naval base. He's a... Get him, Castro! Get Uncle Sam, dude! Fucking... international communist Jewry. His trustworthy Don Castro. Oh man, dude. International communism just kills me, dude. This picture is too good. This picture is too good. I'm saving it. Oh, there's more? There's more Kino? Which match shall I wear when I push her over? Ooh. Oh, I wanted to zoom in. Can I zoom in? I can't zoom in. Communism in universities. Big labor. Communism in, what is that? Churches. Subversive elements in Supreme Court, government, NAACP, benevolent foundations, foreign aid, mass communication media, amusement industries. Oh man, this feels too close to home. This feels too close. Like, same shit, different decade, dude. I plan to lead another non-violent march tomorrow. Dr. Martin Luther King. It's literally the mostly peaceful protest meme. That's just. God, that stated. Is there any source? Can I get a primary source? Can I get like a link to whatever article this is from? How do I see that? I'm not stopping until I read the words roving blacks. Okay? What is this? Top story, Los Angeles riots? Let me see. Let me get. I understand the risks. I'm a big boy. I get my PC hacked all the time, and I have to format my fucking computer every few months. Matt Murphy, attorney for the Klan, works to build KKK membership. Birmingham. It is noon in Birmingham, and Matt Murphy, junior lawyer for the Ku Klux Klan, has just returned from court to his downtown office when the 6'3.5" Ubermensch lawyer is comfortably seated. The first thing he does is open his mail. "This is my fan mail," he says as he tears open the first letter. He reads through it slowly, his face expressionless, his hand tapping rhythmically on the desk cluttered with tidy piles of paper and right-wing literature. "This isn't one of my better letters," he says as he drops the letter into the wastebasket, "but I have received letters from hundreds of people who like the way I've handled myself in court." 2 months ago, the bulky 51-year-old Murphy, who prefers to be called the Imperial Clonsel of the United Klan, demonstrated his ability to handle himself while defending Collie Leroy Wilkins, one of 3 Klansmen charged with murdering civil rights worker Viola Gregg Loiseau. The trial ended without a verdict, but it did establish Murphy as a nationally known spokesman for the Klan. And when he returned to Birmingham, he brought the Klan back with him. People think the Klan is composed of a gang of uneducated roughnecks. "We have applications from doctors, lawyers, businessmen, from every walk of life," he says. "All we really demand is that a man be 21, white, Protestant, and dedicated to the segregation of the races." Murphy has been handling many of the Klan's principal case since he graduated from the University of Alabama Law School, shortly after World War II. "This is a wonderful country we live in, but I think we're in trouble," he says gravely. Dude, it's just, we're in trouble. The United States, the West has fallen. The United States will collapse in 2 weeks. It is for 150 years. It has been 2 weeks away from collapsing. Dude, I swear to fucking God, dude. Oh no, America's collapsing. The West has fallen. Hold on 1 second. I think my DoorDash is here. Let me just go and get that real quick. And we can blame most of it on the communist conspiracy, most of which manifests itself in the so-called civil rights movement. There that is again. "I am for the dignity of the races, but I am not standing by and watching integration in this country. Understand me, I am not against any religion or race, but we have to maintain segregation." Jesus fucking, this dude is literally Nick Fuentes. I'm not a racist, guys. I'm not against anyone. I don't hate anyone based on their race. I just think different races are good at different things, and they shouldn't be put together. It doesn't work. I am proud to be a white man, and I am proud that I stand on my feet for white supremacy, not black supremacy, not the mixing or the mongrelizing of the races. All of this and more, he told the jury that he could not reach a verdict. He told this to a jury? Whoa! All right, that's a nice meme. All right, I'm done. I'm done with all this. I've been doing this for like 3.5 hours at this point. I'm good. I think I've read enough. I feel confident in such statements of such things. Yeah, anyway, the point I'm trying to make with all this, the point I'm trying to make with all this is the right hasn't gone crazy. It hasn't evolved, and this is some new form of the right that we've never seen before. This is fucking perfect cell of the right. No, the right hasn't gone crazy. It's always been like this. It's always been this way for 150 years because we failed Reconstruction and we've been fighting the Civil War for 150 years, right? Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Same shit, different decade. And I sincerely doubt that the options and the selection you had of media and the news you had back then in the 1960s, you could have now, right? Today, matter of seconds, I can look up anything. I can look up a primary source. I can look up different sources. I can choose to be informed about things and understand things for myself. However, I think most people are too retarded to be capable of doing such things. That's why we have pundits. But regardless, today, there is infinite amount of media and news sources and things to look from, and we can look at the past and we can look at primary sources and we can interpret things to ourselves, and it's easier and freer than ever, and we can just do it in boom, boom, boom seconds. I read through article after article of paper after paper in the last like 3.5 hours, going through all kinds of random rabbit holes about communist Jewry, and half of the shit was blocked by paywalls and stuff because the 1960s era sucks because it's like history, but it's technically still not history because all the rights are still reserved to different companies and stuff like that, and they're all trying to make a buck off it, so you have to pay $7 to read an article from 1960. It's stupid and dumb. But at the end of the day, I couldn't imagine it was any better in the 1960s. In the 1960s, whatever news you got, I don't even think they had PBS at the time. Whatever news you got from the 1960s would be whatever, I guess, local newspaper. You'd probably have an option of like 3 or so local newspapers and maybe some radio stations, but they would have to be in the area. I don't know. Maybe I'd have to look up what kind of information was available in the 1960s. But I mean, they had to run like phone lines and shit. At the end of the day, if you were slotted in an area that was like, let's say in the South, and the only media you ever got was, I don't know, international communist Jewry destroying the West and mobilizing Negroes to try and rape white women or whatever, then, well, I guess that's the world we live in. Like, the fuck are you gonna go? But today, in the modern day, I can look up any perspective. I can look up these things for myself. I can choose to be informed. But the truth of the matter is, people don't. People don't want to be informed. It's not what it's about. People don't care. And sorry if I get into another like really antisocial rant and I sound really antisocial for a second, but my faith in humanity is very low at the moment. I am very black-pilled at the moment. And most people, 90% of people on this planet are fucking animals. They're fucking pigs, right? You can set a trough of maggots, shit, and just rotten vegetables or whatever right in front of somebody. And then 10 feet away, a golden plate of the juiciest, freshest steak cooked by Chef Gordon motherfucking Ramsay himself. Designed, blessed by the gods, that millionaires would pay thousands for just a bite of. You could set that dish 10 feet away. And the average person, because they are fucking troglodyte pigs, will eat the trough of maggots and shit right in front of them instead of walking 10 feet over because it's closer. Most people will just do whatever is right in front of them. The biggest indicator of anyone's political beliefs, and not just political beliefs, but biggest indicator of literally anything, is what is your parents? What is your family? That's the biggest indicator of everything. Most people never think or criticize or change their perspective ever. Now, more than ever, it is easier to be informed. Yet, no one cares, because that's just how people are. That's just how the world is. No one gives a shit. You know, right now in the modern day, we really do like to idealize the civil rights movement and the protests then. And like in school and whatnot, they teach you all of that this was an objectively good thing. I don't think most people would disagree that the Civil Rights Act and the Civil Rights Movement was an objectively good thing. And they were objectively on the right side of history. But at the time, they weren't. At the time, there was a lot of coverage, and I mean, some of them were pretty much riots. Some of them did get pretty wild. People did get injured in these protests. People did get hurt. There was property damage. And you could even go so far to say more than there is today in the No Kings protests or the BLM protests or riots or whatever you want to call it. Way more. And we like to put this era on a pedestal, and the people revolved around it on a pedestal. But at the end of the day, Martin Luther King died an unpopular man. His movement was unpopular. And even now, we're still in a better position than at that point. Right? BLM, I think, is, even after like all the wild, propaganda, mostly peaceful protest memes and all of that, all of the kind of like attacks on BLM during the BLM protests and George Floyd protests and all of that, even after all of that, even then, I think still, now, BLM still has a positive perception with most people. It's still received positively. That's more than Martin Luther could say when he died. It's certainly more than he could say while he was doing his activism. You know, and hopefully we can look back at this period of time as just like, oh, it's just a wacky, quirky period of time where we let a dementia-addled corpse and an orange retarded pedophile run our government for a little while, and our greatest thought leader of this period of time was a wannabe comedian with horse cum in his veins. Hopefully we can look back at it and think of that way. Dear God, I hope. I can only hope. But also at the same time, I don't want to sit here and be the nothing ever happens chud and act like, you know, that everything's fine and it's not a big deal or whatever. No, shit is crazy, right? Every single day you turn on the news and it's breaking news from the White House of the United States of America. Donald Trump is wiping his ass with the Constitution again. It's just a constant loop of that every single day. Every single day. It's downright comedic. It's like a weekly comic book issue, but the villain of the week every single week is Donald Trump with a new goofy, just goofy, absurd thing being done. And with all the concerns of the deployment of the National Guard too, I assume the game plan is every major city to, you know, all the ICE agents going around being wacky and silly and all of that, and just all the crazy shit in general. I'd assume, you know, normally if you'd say like insurrection or cooing the government or whatever, or some kind of hostile takeover or some kind of, you know, illegal third term would be wild and crazy. But at the end of the day, they tried that already, but that was amateur shit. This time it's going to be done professionally. This time, it's going to be done with the help of the National Guard and maybe ICE if they could get them to do anything right. And that I think is the big concern. I mean, a lot of people over dramatize it a lot, but I don't think the National Guard can really do a lot. They don't have a lot of. It's not exactly martial law. I don't think they can make arrests. I don't think most of them aren't allowed to carry guns. I've seen a couple around because I live in Washington D.C. or 30 minutes out from it. Technically, I don't live in Washington D.C., but I'm kind of doxing myself. But yeah. They just kind of like walk around and pick up trash or whatever. And I guess the idea is we wait 3 years and people just get used to the military walking around. Nobody thinks about it. And then, you know, party time when it comes to the next election. But at the end of the day, that's really the big concern is that with all of these elements put in place, with what's already been tried, what's already been done, that there are legitimate threats, that there will be some form of insurrection or overthrowing the government, and that there needs to be resistance more than just playing legally, because they're not playing within the law, they're not playing fair, and I understand that sentiment, and I would agree if that was the case. If Donald Trump was 20 years younger, maybe, just maybe I would agree. But genuinely, at this point, there's questions if he's going to make it another year. He's looking pretty bad. His brain is fucking soup, man. He's gone. There's questions if he's going to make it another year, much less to the next election. And I know this conversation's been had more times than I can count. But then, when he's gone, who runs next? Who goes next? Who takes his place? Who's going to lead MAGA in the Republican Party? Who they got? Who's going to run for the next election? Who's going to take his place? J.D. Vance? Ted Cruz again? Fucking Theo Vaughn? Dude, they probably have the best bet having Theo Vaughn as the next president of the United States, dude. Nobody likes any of these people. Nobody likes anybody in the Trump administration except for Donald Trump himself. He's the GOAT. He's the man. He's the whole glue that keeps this together. And they've put all of their eggs in this basket. I mean, you got people like Ron DeSantis who can't campaign on anything but make Florida great again and shit. You know, everybody's riding off his coattails and his brand. Can't think of anything else or come up with anything else or have any ideas outside of his. They've put all of their eggs in this basket we don't know if it's going to be around in the next year. From natural causes or whatever, you know, and even if he was 20 years younger, it's falling apart at the seams. You had the No Kings protest, which was one of the biggest protests in U.S. history. You have another one coming up, apparently. We'll see whatever happens with that happens. But not to mention, like I said, there has been Mondo pushback. There has been a good amount of resistance for these kinds of things. They're on borrowed time and they know it. And hopefully, and maybe they're trying to speed this up to just go to the midterms. But at the end of the day, you had Pete Hegseth's fucking embarrassing, goofy speech where he goes up on stage in front of all the generals and goes, "Come on, guys, if you pledge undying loyalty to Donald Trump in this country, we'll let you say the N-word and rape female recruits. Come on, guys." Yeah, no, it's not working. It's not going to work. I'm not worried. I'm not scared. I don't give a shit, man. It's not working. I don't think. I think it's going to crash and burn. And I think there'll be another, I mean, we still got 3 years left, but there'll probably be a Democrat president in 2028, and hopefully as long as they don't run anything fucking retarded again. My guess of how this is going to go is Trump's going to croak in office within the next couple years, and then we're going to get J.D. Vance as the president, and it's going to be nobody respects him, nobody likes him, he's a fucking clown, and the average person's perspective of him is the stupid caricature meme. No, he looks fucking weird. No, like that's it. That's all. Like most people, I don't give a shit. He could have the greatest policies in the world or the greatest rhetoric in the world. Nobody gives a shit. He looks like a fucking weird troll creature. So they're gonna lose massive amounts of support, and we'll probably get a Democrat president in 2028, and then we'll move on, and we'll see if we pretend like nothing happened or what. But that's the way it is. That's the way it's gonna go. That's probably how it will. That's the way I see it. That's the way it is. That's the way it's gonna go, and. You know, as long as people don't do anything fucking retarded. Yeah, but I don't know. That's about it. That's all I really have to say. I do think the rhetoric is crazy. I do think that there's legitimately no point in even tolerating or playing games with, you know, violence, political violence or politically motivated assassinations or anything like that. I think it's just absurd in the first place and unnecessary. But at the end of the day, I don't give a shit about Destiny. He's a grown-ass man. If he wants to put a big target on his back saying, shoot me, that's his prerogative. I don't give a shit. That's not my monkey, not my circus. But at the end of the day, I do think he doesn't even believe half the shit he's saying when he says that. It's just a same thing with the like fireman situation or the the drowning of the kids, where it's just being inflammatory to start a conversation and put more heat and more pressure on Republicans, which is fine. If that's what he wants to do, that's fine. I think there's a conversation worth having. It's an interesting topic, but I don't think it should be the mainline position, and I don't think anyone who denounces violence is cucked or whatever. And I certainly think that, you know, you shouldn't go around saying based over shit like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really care. I don't really give a shit about condoning or condemning violence. Maybe my perspective sucked on this and I'm wrong about this, considering that I don't really have an audience or influence anyone, but I really don't think condemning or condoning violence matters that much in the grand scheme of things. I really think that things like that are just a virtue signal to get brownie points on the internet, or to get like just fucking drooling retards to go, so based. At the end of the day, I think it's mainly just a virtue signal. I think what leads to political violence more than anything is not condoning political violence or whatever. What I think leads to political violence more than anything is sending a message, pushing a rhetoric that things are hopeless, that things are cooked, that things are so far gone that nothing matters anymore and things are just going to get worse and your life's never going to get better or whatever. And it's because of insert group I don't like here. And then you can fill in the blanks from there on what you should do against those people. You know, that I think leads to political violence more than anything. And there's a lot of that, the kind of just doom scrolling rhetoric and whatnot. And basically making the statement that things are so cooked, that things are so far gone that, you know, something like this should not be condoned, but it's where we're at, and that this even needs to be played around with as an idea, I think is frankly ridiculous. Frankly a little far, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Destiny. I'm not worried about his community or anything. I don't think any fucking I don't think there's going to be any wild Taliban shootings or anything like that. He's a grown-ass man. He knows what he's doing. Just another inflammatory thing to say to, you know, put more heat and more pressure on the Republican Party and to Donald Trump and the administration itself. Kind of just start a conversation, and I guess you could call it a bit of trolling, just a bit of rage bait in it. But I don't know. That's about it. That's all I got to say. Peace.